I've got two Joola Mod TAs, but this one's a 16mm one and this one's a 14mm one. Today I'm going to have you watching about 18 minutes of footage. The first game will be with the 14mm and then the rest will be with the 16mm. At the end of all of those games, I'm going to give you my opinion as to which out of these two paddles I think is best suited for the average player. Now, as you watch the clips, if you pay attention on the bottom right of the footage, you'll actually see what paddle I'm using at that moment in case you get confused. On top of that, if you want to see more of my footage of the 14mm, my last few videos have been with it, so you can easily go to that footage and see it. That's why I included less games with the 14mm and I included more games with the 16mm. If you want to know how the paddles were set up, because you might notice this one has a slice cap, this one does not, but there is lead around the grip, I'm going to have all that information in the description. I don't want to go over it in video and slow things down, so just find that in the description if you want to specifically know how each paddle is set up. But off the top of my mind, this paddle is about, the 14mm is 9.3 ounces. This one comes in at about 8.9 ounces, the 16mm one. But with all that being said, let's roll the tape.
Into that Donkey Kong song. Pull that bullshit. Oh, I don't like keep flowing for it. Good shot, man.
So hopefully the footage was entertaining. Now before we get into my opinion about the paddles, I want to discuss the elephant in the room, which is in my last video, I was absolutely clowned on for having weak serves, as you can tell by these comments here. So afterwards, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go on the court, I'm going to start working on harder serves. I used to have harder serves, and then I got the serving ips, and I kind of went away from serving more difficult, and I decided, you know what, it's true, I got to serve harder, which is what I did. So you might notice whether it is with the 16 millimeter or the 14 millimeter, I was serving a lot more pace and a lot more spin on my serves, which was also good because it actually was yielding results to me. But let's begin with an analogy. How do I actually see these two paddles? Well, for me, it's similar to looking to, you have one car which is an American muscle car, goes great in a straight line, massive engine, right? Don't take it around the track though, not that great around the curves. On the flip side, you have like an Italian supercar, right? Also quick on a straight line, maybe not as quick, but great around the track, right? Well, that's how these two paddles are. The 16 millimeter one, which is this one right here, this is the American muscle car. And this one here is that Italian supercar. And to kind of explain what I mean by that, let's first get past the things that are kind of similar between the two paddles. Now, as we touched on, the serves, pretty similar. Do you get a bit more power of the 16? Sure, but on the flip side, I get more spin with the 14. And that's a common theme, and I think the reason for that is you're able to accelerate your hand a little quicker with the 14, allowing you to put that spin on the ball. But still, not that crazy of a difference. So what about the drives? Well, when I first picked up the 16 millimeter paddle a week or 2 weeks ago, I did notice more power on the drives. There's no question about it. That was instant to me. But there was something very peculiar about that, which is if I'm trying to drive the ball at 60, 70, 80%, there is more power on the 16 millimeter paddle. No question about it. But if I'm going all out, I'm at the 90% mark of my power, maybe a little higher, that's when the power levels start to match up. And I tend to see that not just on the ground strokes, but also on the put-away volleys, where if I'm really putting my arm into it, my shoulder into that put-away volley, the powers kind of match up. But if I'm trying to put a ball away at around 75, 70% power, yes, that the 60 millimeter mod definitely sticks out there. But you'll see in these clips, right, of my drives here, the drives are good of both of them. Yes, there's a little bit more oomph with the 60 millimeter ones, which kind of makes sense because we don't all drive at 90% of our power, right? We normally try to keep our drives at 75%, 70%, and that's where that mod with the 60 millimeter mod kind of sticks out because it is much quicker. What about drops and dinking? Well, they're both comfortable to do either one with. The 14 millimeter one is more comfortable to drop or dink with, and the reason for that is with the 14, I believe that you're able to hold on to the ball for a longer period of time. Normally when you're dropping or you're dinking, you do want to almost catch that ball and have as much influence over the pace of it and the positioning of that ball. So when the ball just comes off the paddle very, very quickly, that's noticeable. That gives you less control over that ball. The 16 millimeter feels like that. It feels like it just comes off the paddle a little too quickly, not allowing me to maybe take pace off the ball and not allowing me to maybe just kind of like pocket the ball where I want it to be. It still does it well enough, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's holding me back, you know, like the gearbox is like, I feel the issues with it, right? But with the 16 millimeter, it's not an issue. It's not as great as a 14. The 14 just does it like butter. The 16, you got to work a bit more, especially on the dinking. Again, the dinks feel great, but I got to be a little bit more focused because I know I'm a little bit more likely to pop up that ball when I'm dinking with the 16. It just has a little bit more pop and just doesn't stay with me as long as I would like it to. Now, the reason why I gave that analogy of the cars earlier on is because you can't really be creative with the 16 millimeter in terms of rolling your volleys or hooking a shot. It just doesn't work that well. Just to give you an example, so I'm showing you from my previous video some really good rolls right down at my knee level. I'm at the net, I'm rolling these balls very well. That's with the 14 millimeter. Those feel great. On the flip side, I show you one with the 16 millimeter. It's not as great, and I can feel it in real time how with the 16 millimeter, it simply comes off the paddle, again, a little too quick before I get a chance to put enough spin on that ball for me to be comfortable with that shot. It's very noticeable in this hook shot, which again requires me to have as much contact with the ball as possible to create that angle and put enough spin on it. When I try the 16, as you can see in this clip here, it doesn't work well at all. The ball literally just floats all the way up. Luckily, I still win that point. With the 14 though, I'm killing it with that shot, but I'm not able to replicate that shot at all of the 16. Is it still possible? I'm sure of it, but I may have to change my technique around it. Likewise, as you can see here where I missed the ball, I was a little extra with the way I was trying to hit that back, and I was trying to kind of like loop it and hit it, and it just hit the top of the net. Had I been with the 14 millimeter on that shot, I can almost guarantee you that ball would have cleared that net, because I would have been able to just hold on to that ball just long enough to get it lifted over that net before I completed that shot. But that did not work in that case. So what I'm getting at here is the 16 millimeter does not work that great on shots where you're utilizing a lot of spin, because you don't have as much, that ball's not staying with you long enough to really manipulate that ball. Where it really shines though, where it really shines is the punch volleys and the flick volleys, right? If you're able to have that paddle out in front of you and someone attacks you and you're able to just punch it back a little bit, that's where you see the paddle shine. The 14 does a phenomenal job with it already. The 16 really does a great job, right? Again, if we stick within that power band of like you're using like 50 to 75% of your power, the 16 millimeter shines through. It feels like a sledgehammer at the net when it comes to getting right through your opponents. Flicks feel phenomenal with it, right? I had a session last night and my goodness, like so many shots that were just a little bit above my shoulder, and I'm just using my wrist to flick it, and there's just so much power being generated. That almost reminded me of the power that I was able to generate using the Gearbox Pro Power when it was broken into, right? Which was great, but again, the Gearbox Pro Power, the sweet spot was so small, it had so many downsides to it of trying to reset the ball and drop the ball and so on. I have none of those issues, but I'm getting all that flicking power that the Gearbox was giving me. Especially in these clips here, you can see the amount of power I'm generating on my backhand side over my shoulder. Normally speaking, for most players, that's going to be a tough spot to generate your power from, but I'm still cranking these balls using it, right? Sometimes I'm just using a punch volley up top, sometimes I'm using a backhand flick. It all works out really well with the 16 millimeter. In general, I would say with the 16 millimeter, you do have to change your game up. And this is why I say that every paddle is very personable to everybody. If you're someone that does not utilize these hooking shots, you don't roll the ball as much or as much as you should, then maybe the 16 millimeter is the better paddle for you, right? It really depends on what your game type is. For me personally, as I've been using the 60 millimeter, I've been adjusting my game to using less rolls and trying to put myself in a position where I could use a flick or a punch volley instead. And that's been interesting to me because I do know that even within my games, so you might have seen some of my clips where I like to have a lot of flourishes on my backhand volley, especially my counters, right? I like to load it up and kind of hook it and all this, and it all looks great, but it's not really efficient. Truth be said, yes, I like doing those type of shots, but I know that, hey, at higher levels, I don't have all that time to be hooking my backhand around and having a finish here, my hand there. It's too extra, right? I gotta shrink all of that down. And I get punished by the 16 millimeter when I do all of that, because then my swing becomes too big. And if my swing becomes too big, it kind of activates that little like trampoline effect even more so and gives me less time with that ball. So if I'm trying to cock my wrist and trying to like spin through it, the ball just comes off my paddle. I can't direct the ball where I want it to be. So it's actually teaching me better habits within my own game where, sure, I can do some of the shots I like to do. Like I like to roll the ball from beneath my knees. That's a fine shot to have, right? If I'm trying to keep people back behind the net. My forehand dink, I love doing that aggressive hooking roll. I can't really do that, so I'm losing out on that. But on the flip side, I'm working on shrinking down my swings across all of my shots. That's a benefit because this paddle benefits from that. You want to keep those swings very, very short. And at the same time, I'm thinking in my head, okay, how can I hit the shot as a flick or as a punch volley instead of a roll, which in most cases, a roll volley will always be a bit more passive than a punch volley or a flick. But as I bring all of this together, if someone were to ask me which out of these two would I recommend, the 14 or the 16, and the answer would be the 14. For most players, the 14 is a much more manageable paddle. It still has so much power. It does great on counters. You feel the dwell time on that ball. There's really no downsides to that paddle at all. That's the paddle I would recommend. The 16mm paddle to me almost feels like a training paddle. At least it does for me, because I'm able to try to, it's able to punish me for things that I know that I'm not doing that great and I should get out of my game. Does it have great flicks? Does it have great punching power? Yes, it does, but obviously the game requires more of that. You know, ultimately I can serve in a similar fashion with the 14 as I could with the 16. The drive's a little bit weaker here, but I do get more spin because my racket head is a little bit quicker. I do feel more comfortable with the dinks and the drops of the 14, and actually the half volley resets. That one also feels more comfortable here. Sure, at the net, again, if I have to counter, I'll be a little bit slower. If I have to put the ball away though, if I have the time for it, truth be said, I'm still gonna be putting the ball away with these mods because they hit so damn hard. And as I said, once you get to that like really upper echelon of like 90% of all your power, their power levels kind of match up. It's only like within that shorter band of like 50 to 75%. That's where that mod kind of sticks out, which yes, honestly speaking, most of the time we're in that band because we don't have the time, we don't have the luxury to use more of that. You might see some of my clips here, right, where I'm kind of using the mods as I should, right? You just see me kind of reaching over and just having a very relaxed arm and just like whipping these balls down the court. That's how I should be hitting those shots. You know, I shouldn't be rolling them. I should be absolute like punch whipping these balls down the court. And that's with the 14. That's a tremendous amount of power. So that's my opinion. Now, I'm probably going to continue using the 16 for now, only because for now it's a bit more fun for me. And it's kind of, like I said, it's training me to think a little bit differently and remove a lot of excess out of my shots. That's the only reason I'll be using it. But that's my review. If you found it helpful, just leave me a like. I would appreciate it. Now, there's a paddle that I'm looking forward to, which is the Rhombus Ripple R1 that will be coming out in the next few weeks. I might give that a try. If you're interested in seeing what my opinion about that paddle will be, just get subscribed to the channel. I'm particularly interested in the fact that the paddle has a low swing weight, more spin than the mod. Because I've yet to use a paddle that has a low swing weight. I feel like all my paddles have had a swing weight of like 118 and higher. It's always just been the case. And then spin-wise, I think the mod might be my most spinniest paddle to date. I just want to see what more spin can add to my game. Because I do slice my returns, and I do like to roll my volleys, and I like to apply a lot of, you know, various spins to my shots. I just want to see, you know, how that can be introduced to my game. So, but that's all I want to say. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys out there. Have a good one.